the number one most fundamental concept in Dynasty Fantasy Football, whether you are just starting Dynasty Fantasy Football and this is your first year, whether you've been playing for 6 to 10 years in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Our number one most used word in Dynasty Fantasy Football, you hear us say it all the time, so much you probably get sick of it, is value. And once you understand how value works in Dynasty Fantasy Football, it's going to change how you play. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to do kind of for, again, those of you experienced Dynasty players, you need to hear this. For new Dynasty players, this could open your eyes to how we play Dynasty and our approach to overall Dynasty strategy, which has netted us some pretty good teams and some money as well, because money is cool. So make sure you drop a like on this video. Make sure you're subscribed if you enjoy the Dynasty Theory videos. Again, value. It's our most used word. It's the number one thing in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Compare Redraft Fantasy Football. In Redraft Fantasy Football, you're focused on production. Although there is an aspect to value in Redraft Fantasy Football as well as the season goes on. If you're in an active league and you draft well and guys that you would have drafted in the 5th round in a redraft league jump up and they're now first round picks, you technically have more trading power in a redraft league than you would have otherwise had. So technically there are aspects of value in Redraft Fantasy Football.
Directly and only tied to their production.
Exactly. And so their production is everything in Redraft. Where you contrast that to Dynasty, you're looking at primarily two things. We've talked about this on this channel before, even this year, but this we're going to dive into a little bit more: production and value. And so production obviously matters for Dynasty Fantasy Football, but you'll notice the reason there's differences between Dynasty drafts and Redraft drafts is because in Dynasty, value matters. And what determines value? It's a combination of a ton of things. Insulation, it's their production. That determines their value as well. It's their situation. We have our 3 factors that we put on all of our Blueprint premiums that kind of break down these 3 things that do influence value a lot. But when you're looking at the Dynasty economy as a whole, and when you're looking at value, you can essentially break it down like this. The Dynasty economy is basically just a bunch of money. It really is, at its simplest form, a bunch of money. The sum of the entire Dynasty economy in your league is the sum of all the values of all relevant Dynasty players. And so each player has a price. Say, for example, Josh Allen is worth $200. Let's say, you've got Brian Thomas Jr., and he's worth $50. And then you've got Phil Maffa. He's worth $1, right? Or $0 potentially. But everywhere in between those 3 points, every single player has a price. Those are just examples. I'm not saying, but although every player does have a price. And the prices of these players are determined by what? They're determined by what people are willing to buy or sell a player for. How are prices determined in the stock markets? I know that's a complex answer, but essentially it's the amount that somebody would be willing to buy or sell the stock for, right? That's how player prices are determined in Dynasty Fantasy Football. That's how ADP, where they go in drafts, is determined in Dynasty Fantasy Football. It's all predicated on the market value of a player, which is, again, determined by what a player is willing to give a player away for, or what somebody is willing to give away for a certain player. That and that alone determines the Dynasty market and prices of players. Now, there are, of course, other factors, influencing factors, narratives, hype, things like that. Content creators can sometimes influence a Dynasty market inside of certain circles. Watch a Domain League draft. You can see that the drafts are a lot different than normal Dynasty drafts. So there are outside factors that weave their way into Dynasty value. But for the most part, it is, again, determined by what people are willing to buy and sell a player for. These prices, again, they give each player a price tag, and at its simplest, it's very easy. It's actually very easy to take, if you have the right mathematical equation, to put a dollar value on each player. And, each player in Dynasty Fantasy Football could have a dollar value if you did it right. You have to figure out what their prices are. You have to figure out the price of a 4th-round Dynasty asset relative to a 1st-round Dynasty asset. But this kind of comes to mind because we were just doing an auction draft where you literally have a budget, a $300 budget, and a 12-team league, that's a $3,600 budget, and it became this big
living
math
manifestation
problem.
Of this example.
It is the manifestation of this example because it became a big math problem. It's like, okay, $3,600. So how much is Allen worth in a $3,600 league economy? How much is Drake May worth? How much is Patrick Mahomes worth in that $3,600 league economy? And, when we dove into it, we're like, okay, you can actually take Dynasty and just equate it to dollar values. And that's how people build trade calculators. They don't necessarily do it in dollars. They do it in a lot of times their own different metrics and stuff. You'll go to a website like Keep Trade Cut, or even go, to, I think there's arbitrary values for guys on the Flock side as well. Every trade calculator has some kind of number attached to each player. And basically what it is doing is assigning each player a numerical price. It's not maybe necessarily priced in terms of what you give up for them in terms of assets, but it is their price because relative to other players, it shows what they're worth, right? And so that's how people build good trade calculators, Now, good trade calculators, Basically, what defines a good trade calculator is a trade calculator that has a curve that correctly indicates the dynasty market and player values relative to other players. That's what a good trade calculator is. It's all about, is your curve good or is it not good? You see bad trade calculators because they have a bad curve. Again, bad trade calculators.
And also diminishing returns when up tiering.
Correct. And that all stems from having a bad curve. That example right there, when you're looking mathematically at a curve, would mean that the bottom is not flat enough on the curve. The guys that you can stack together, 4, 5, 15th round guys in Dynasty, those guys should be worth nothing because that curve should be at 0. Maybe there's limits on technically these equations. It should be approaching 0, not technically 0, but as close to 0 as you can possibly get. Yeah. And
the higher up you try to go up to that curve with those highly valuable assets like Jamar Chase and Jackson Smith-Njigba and Josh Allen, the harder it should be to achieve those players rather than just stacking up a bunch of valueless assets.
Exactly. Right? So, for example, a guy who's a waiver wire level player should be worth 0.01, whereas Josh Allen's worth 100. Well, here's the thing. How many assets of those would you have to stack? You can't do it.
You can't.
Mathematically, it's impossible. There's not enough players. That's the point. That's what most trade calculators get wrong. But essentially, trade calculators that are bad have a curve that does a bad job of reflecting current Dynasty prices. And then when you look at Dynasty and trading as a whole, Dynasty is essentially day trading. Prices fluctuate based on the day-to-day or really month-to-month or off-season to season needs of a team. You notice this in examples like this. Rookie picks are more valuable in the offseason. Veterans are more valuable in season. So again, it's day trading at this point. That's why we would have the 3-year outlook. We used to have the 3-year outlook. Now we give you a 2-year outlook. Because honestly, people are really playing Dynasty closer to 1-year windows than they are 3-year windows at this point. And all of that is because of how the Dynasty market fluctuates and prices ebb and flow based on what the current need of a Dynasty team is. Right now, everybody wants rookie picks, or typically in this time, everybody wants rookie picks. Rookie pick prices are higher in the spring, right? If you can learn to react, not only react, but really to get out in front of this Dynasty market and to play the market and how these prices fluctuate, that's how you build a good Dynasty team. And it's all about value. People ask us all the time. It's the number one question we get. It's the number one question to figuring out how to build an effective Dynasty team. Am I contending? Am I rebuilding? Do I need to reload? Or some people call it retooling. How do you know? How do you know? We always could look at a team and we can make an educated guess on whether or not somebody's reloading, rebuilding, or reloading. We could do that based on their roster. But again, we talked about this in a couple of our videos already. We have come up with ways to quantify it. The first thing we look at, and really the only thing we need to look at when we're talking about what your outlook is, what you should do with your team, and how healthy is your team. You want to know something? How do I know, Nathan, if I've got a bank account, just one checking account, and I want to go on vacation, how do I know if I can afford to go on vacation?
You look at your bank account.
You look at your bank account, you see how much money you have, right? That's a pretty darn good way to see if you can contend in Dynasty.
Don't put it on credit.
Don't put it on credit, because it's not a very good idea. No. And the fact of the matter is, if I try to go on vacation with a lot of money, what happens? Without a lot of money, what happens? I'm either going to run out of money completely or I'm going to go into debt.
Yep.
Overdraw. I'm going to get some overdraw fees.
Credit cards.
That overdraw fee, that's your league buy-in when you're trying to contend as a hard rebuild or a reload, right? It's the exact same thing in Dynasty. Let's check our bank accounts. Because again, we've said this for years now, but it's really important to highlight this. Contending costs money. Contending costs value in Dynasty. You have to have value to contend because you have to spend value to contend. Almost always, unless you have an elite value team where your value has just increased and increased, when you're like a standard value team or approaching enhanced value, if you're going to contend, you're almost always going to lose value year over year because your players that you have that are contending assets are going to lose value. Yeah. It's when you get to elite value where your players aren't losing value that you can actually maintain that year over year over year, and that's when you build a true Dynasty. But let's check our bank accounts. How do we do that, Nathan? What do we use for our bank accounts when we're doing team blueprints?
Well, we have value archetypes, which again are based on their production and value share, which are the the two number one things that we look at when determining what those archetypes are. And again, every single league is like a little mini economy. It is its own economy. So when we have value share, we actually stack that up against the rest of your league. It's not just a number, but where does it rank across the rest of your league? A 12% value share in a 12-team league is not equivalent to a 12% value share in an 8-team league. it's totally different, right? Because the expected value share that every other team or every other roster in your league is expected to have in that economy is going to be greater when there are less people actually playing in that league. So when you have one of the highest value shares and the highest production share is actually number one pretty much, or maybe number two in production share. Sometimes I've seen that before for elite value teams. You're going to have, again, an elite roster, an elite value team that is going to want to stack that value share, stack it together and get the highest, most productive assets in your league to ultimately win your league, because that's the goal of playing in dynasties, just like it is in a regular redraft league.
Correct.
When you've got high value share, like let's say top 3 or 4, but you've got really low production share, bottom 4, you probably need to get some productive assets. Hey, Joe Schmo over here has, 6 rookie picks in 2026. And he's got a ton of unproven young guys that are all upside premier or foundational assets, but they're not proven. He's got Luther Burden. He's got Marvin Harrison Jr. He has Rome Odunze. He has Brian Thomas Jr. He has Tet McMillan. He has Travion Henderson. And he's got the 101, the 103, and the 106. Good gosh, get somebody who's proven, for the love. Spend that value and go win your freaking league. I can't tell you how many times I've done blueprints where people say, hey, I'm looking at, I've been rebuilding this roster. I just don't know if I have enough to contend. And I'm like, brother, you're number 1 in value share, and it's not even close. You're 4 or 5% value share over expected.
This is the bucket where you're waiting to go on vacation, and you've saved up, and you've passed what you need. You need $3,000 to go on vacation. Yep. You got 10
This is where it's like, okay, take a break. You've worked hard.
Go on vacation. You worked for
Enjoy
this,
it.
Right? It's time to go win more money, because money is cool, right? And so that's what this is. And again, you're right. How many times do we see people like, I'm not sure if I'm contending, and we pull up their team and they're first or second in their league in value share.
It is time.
And let me tell you, Dynasty is a
66.
very capitalist game. When you start to get imbalance in a Dynasty league, the poor get poorer and the rich do be getting richer. Mm-hmm. That's how Dynasty is. And sometimes the imbalance between leagues, like Nathan was mentioning, is going to be more of an indicator of whether you should contend or not. It's why every league is different. It's why context is important. But you've saved up your money. Like, you have the most money in your league now. Go spend your money to contend again, because why else are we gaining value on a dynasty team? A lot of people want to have all these valuable players, but like you mentioned, they have all these young players who aren't proven. And so they're just sitting with a 15% value share in a 12-team league, 7% value share over expected, and they're 5th in production share, and they're losing in the semis every year. I'm like, well, dude, you're bullying your league. You've got the more money than everybody else in your league. If you go get guys and raise your production share, you're going to be good. And so again, this high value share, low production share combination is when we say, go get productive assets. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah. And one of the rarer ones that we do see is kind of like an aging value archetype. And that really is going to be the difference between your value and production share. On the flip side, if you have, top 3 production share metrics or production share percentage, but you're probably like bottom quartile of the league in value share, that means you've probably got a team that's aging out. They've got a lot of production upside, a lot of promise on their team, and you've got so much production upside opportunity heading into this season that you probably don't want to reload yet, because those guys are losing value as is. You have Derrick Henry, you have Devontae Adams, you have CMC, you have Saquon Barkley, and Mike Evans, who's now in a great situation in San Francisco. It's like, brother, you may as well just try to go for it one more year before you're going to end up in a reload or a rebuild eventually anyways, because you invested in all these guys who probably did win you leagues and could win you one more. So that's kind of what an aging value archetype is. There are some, though, where it's like, yeah, you're top half of the league, maybe you're middle of the pack in value share or production share, but you are towards the bottom in value share. Then at that point, we're probably just going to have you reload. If you have some star power, but not enough, where it's like, yeah, we're very confident that you're going to have the production upside to compete this season. Maybe you just have one of Derrick Henry and Adams and CMC, and you don't really have any like cornerstone guys that you can really depend on that are super insulated, that are going to keep this train going for the next 3 years. Then it's probably just worth reloading now and getting ahead of an inevitable rebuild if you were to go for it one more season. One thing that we see a lot for teams when we decide whether you're an aging value or a reloading team, the difference between aging value is you're contending this year and a 1-year reload you're reloading this year, is the 1-year reloads generally have their 27 first. Mm-hmm. If you're an aging value team, you're probably all in to a point where you're draft capital deficient, and it doesn't really incentivize you to reload right now. You may as well go for it and make that pick that you don't have in 2027 as late as humanly possible, or you just screwed yourself, right? point.
Yeah. And I will say you're on vacation, but you are almost out of money. Like you're like about to hit zero. You got to go back home and freaking work. Okay. So why are you on vacation if you ran out of freaking money? That's not cool. Go back and do some freaking work. We got to get some more money in our bank account, right? And then there's the teams, the last scenario here where we have a low value share and a low production share. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call a hard rebuild. Sometimes this can occasionally be a future value. If you've got a bunch of picks, like 27 picks that aren't necessarily inflating your value share and also aren't giving you production, could be a future value team. More often than not, when you have a bottom 25% in production share and value share, it's almost always a hard rebuild for us. And those are the 2-year rebuilds. And here's the thing. If you know where you're at on the map, are you ready to go on vacation? Are you on vacation and you're good? Are you on vacation and you're running out of money? If you know where you are on that spectrum, you'll never get here. You'll only ever get to the 1-year reload, because what happens is people get to the low value share, high production share so quickly and don't even know it. And then they continue to try to do whatever they can to contend. And all of a sudden they have no insulated assets and all of their value goes into the toilet. If you know where you are on the spectrum, you never have to do a hard rebuild. And we are guilty of this as well. I have had teams I've had to hard rebuild because I didn't know where I was. I didn't know how much money was in my bank account on my team. And I had to hard rebuild because of it.
Me too.
And so, we've learned this from experience. And again, like this is what we're trying to avoid, and you can avoid it. How do you know if you're contending, rebuilding, and reloading? You got to know how much money you have. And again, the number one mistake that we see with dynasty teams is that you don't have a plan. People simply do not have a plan for their team. And we've built all this so that we can help you out with this. That's where we come in, right? We have our complete dynasty blueprint. It's a personalized plan for your roster, your production share. How much money do you have? We start there, your value share. And then we're going to go through everything. We're going to give you specific, your team, what you need, what to trade, who to target in the rookie draft. So we do the team blueprint. We get an infinite blueprint every single month afterwards, so your advice stays current. You get one-on-one access to Nathan and I to check trades. You get all the site tools, trade calculator, rankings, things like that. Plus, now we just came out today with our rookie draft blueprint, which is included with every single team blueprint. So you're going to get that. You're going to get all the draft tools we have. You're going to get the Discord, the leagues. You can get in a league. You can get 3 free trade questions. When you compare it to the price of a full price team review on the site, we're giving all of this to you at a bargain. And it literally covers everything you need for your dynasty team. Plus, again, it's going to get you that one-on-one access to know what your dynasty team status is. Oh, so again, you go through the blueprint. If you implement the recommendations and you go through all this and you don't feel like you have a clear plan, we'll give you your freaking money back. We're that confident that we can give you a good plan for your dynasty team that actually helps you win money. And so stop donating your buy-in every year and come join the community. Again, I've got the link posted down below. It's the annual Motherflocker tier with code DOMAIN. The best way to know how much money's in your bank account is have somebody tell you. We're your financial advisors. You could put it that way. But again, our ultimate goal is to have people win money because money is cool. And kind of building off of that as we kind of wrap this year a little bit, you know, I think a lot of people when they join Dynasty Leagues think that Dynasty is basically just, okay, Redraft is, you know, do I think this player is going to be good this year or not? Dynasty is, do I think this player is going to be good for the next 3 years or not? And that simply couldn't be further from the truth. If you play Dynasty like that, you're really just guessing. As anybody with player takes, you pretty much are just guessing if you think a player is going to be good or not. That is the fact of the matter. And there are people that are better at player takes than other people. But, you know, you wonder, people are like, oh, Domain is, and people will say this about us, and it's totally valid. Like, Domain, not known for their player takes. We don't come out with super strong, aggressive, like, hey, this player for this schematic reason is going to be this productive and have this many yards, and this is why they're a good player. Because we don't need to do that to win our Dynasty Leagues. We play it like a stock broker. We play it like a trader. We play like, again, it's day trading, not like I have to go out there and tell you this player's good, this player's bad, because that's dynasty or dynasty, right? I think this player's good. I buy player. I think player bad. I sell player. Yeah, you can play that way all you want. And again, there's multiple ways you can win a dynasty league like that. We're not saying that. I'm just saying it's a lot more effective when you can actually like lean into dynasty and do the market day trading. And so again, like player takes are outdated in dynasty theory.
Yeah, they are. And like you were saying with the dinosaur dynasty, it's my favorite thing to call it because I remember back when we started dynasty, like we were kind of trying to get out of this era of dynasty that was for such a long time, just truly individual player takes for everybody in their league. I think this player is good. I want to buy this player at whatever price it takes. It doesn't matter what the price is. I think this player is going to be good. Therefore, I'm going to pay for him. And I'm going to sit and watch the player grow or fail if I end up being wrong. And guess what? About half the time I end up being wrong. I have plenty of player takes, personal opinions on different players and whether I think they're going to be good or bad. A lot of my dynasty leagues, I have a lot of players that I didn't think was actually going to turn out or be good. but I invested in them anyways because of where their market price currently was at that point in time and what their value upside opportunity was where they were being priced. Great example of this is a guy like Jamison Williams. He's probably the best example of like the ebbs and flows of the market value of a specific player, where it's like, hey, at the end of the day, did I think that Jamison Williams was going to end up being a consistent wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver 1 like he was last year? I don't know if I would have bet on it with how good Amon-Ra St. Brown was before JMO ended up really being, a focal point of that offense because he came in with an injury and stuff. He had good draft capital, but I was like, he's probably a deep threat. I didn't really think he'd amount to anything super special. I did invest in him at certain prices, and it really did end up paying off for some of my teams. But it was only at specific prices when he was at, his value floor. There are times where I sold Jamison Williams when he was, worth twice of what he was, where I invested in him previously, and I got a value win out of it. Right? So you want to be careful when when you've got these takes on players. You can have takes on players. Avery and I have takes on players. We have a Dynasty channel where we talk about them all the time. But don't let that be the end-all, be-all like it has been for so long in Dynasty in the way that it's been played for decades, really. There are over 200 relevant Dynasty assets. That's like being aggressive, for deeper leagues. That's for like a 12-team start 10 format. You're probably looking at like 250 relevant Dynasty assets. And that doesn't include incoming rookies every single year. It is a lot more work. It is a lot more work to have to come up with an individual take and opinion on every single one of those players and whether you think they're going to hit or whether they're going to bust than it is to just play the ebbs and flows of the market price. It's so much more manageable as a Dynasty player. So much more manageable. You can monitor market prices of every single player way more efficiently and way more quickly than you can by actually having to do a deep dive into every single individually relevant player, relevant asset in Dynasty. It just, in my opinion, it's not realistic to actually, if you're going to have good takes and you think you're really good at having good takes, then that means it probably takes a lot more time. It probably takes a lot of time and a lot of hard work, and that's assuming that you're right, and that's assuming that a majority of your takes are correct. Certainty that a player will or will not hit is so much harder than playing the analytical odds based on historical trends. 100%. It just is. And that's for rookie prospects and veterans alike. We're going to come out with a video next week about some trends analytically that we see in certain rookie prospects that kind of help us analyze the shots that we want to take in the second, third, fourth round of our rookie drafts. Like, this is what we want to focus on. This is what we've been focusing on in so much of our Dynasty theory. Trading based on value really is going to ensure that you never immediately take a significant value loss. When you're trading based on a take that you have on a player, hey, I'm going to pay 50% more than this guy is worth because I know he's going to be worth 50% more when, 5 months down the road when I end up being right about this player. That is how you immediately take a value loss. Immediately. You have less flexibility in your league to make moves because the rest of the league probably doesn't agree with you and your take on that player. So why would you overpay? Pay what they're worth.
And here's the problem. Dynasty fantasy football is not a referendum about how much ball you know. That's what people treat it as. Like, right. You good at Dynasty? You know ball. But if you're not, it doesn't have to be that way. And I do know a lot of people will say, well, this way takes the fun out of playing Dynasty. Are you sure about that? Because I have a freaking crap ton of fun playing it this way. And I always have. I've been doing it for how many years now? And I've never gotten sick of it. Why? Because honestly, I would say it like this, because I'm a competitive Dynasty player. I'm playing Dynasty because it's fun, but I'm playing Dynasty because it's fun. And what makes it fun is that I've been able to find my own little ways to be decent at it and give myself a competitive advantage based on some of the strategy that we've implemented in this video. And so again, fun is subjective. If you want to play just to enjoy it and have your favorite players and whatever, dude, do it. That's totally acceptable. And you could even win your league that way. And people will win leagues based on player takes. There's more than one way to skin a cat, obviously. But to say this way of playing Dynasty is not fun, which is some common pushback that we get. My brothers, I will tell you this. I have a lot of fun stealing people's money. It's so much fun. There is no more fun time of the season than week 17 when I'm sitting there and I'm leading 4 of my championship matchups and my total pot that I'm coming my way is $2,500, $3,000 or something like that. Yeah. Like, that's fun. And again, those of us who are analytical, who enjoy math, who enjoy day trading, who enjoy even economic stuff, like this is a blast for us. And so it may not be for you, but it is fun for some of us. Like we have a lot of fun. This is how we play and it's how we like to play.
Yeah, I remember early on when we were doing a lot of team blueprints and people, one of the most common comments that I would see when they would submit a review is, hey, tell me what to do, but I don't want to move this player, that player, that player, that player, or that player. There goes half of your starting lineup, bro, that I can't work with. Like, sorry, we're going to have to move some of these players if we want to improve your team. Sitting on players that are your darlings, that you're married to, like that's how you can lose a lot of value opportunity as well. I mean, we talk about general value. How do you achieve value? You get guys that have value upside opportunity. You might have someone like Jonathan Taylor who's value equivalent to, say, Tet McMillan. Tet McMillan has much higher value upside opportunity than Jonathan Taylor does. Will he ever realize that value upside opportunity? I don't know. But if you want to take a value upside shot as a rebuild, then you're going to want to have the investment in the guy that has that upside opportunity over someone like JT, who has already reached his value ceiling and is only going to decline from here on out, regardless of what he does from a production perspective. So that's kind of like back to what you were saying with the top heavy versus spreading out the value. That's why we recommend so many rebuilds down tier from the guys that they're so in love with. If I'm a hard rebuild and I own Puka Nacua, you guys know how much I love this guy. You guys know I tanked my flock team 2 years in a row for Puka Nacua just because I want to have him on my team. And there's no reason in a dynasty team for as a hard rebuild for you to be holding onto him when you can down tier and get so much value upside opportunity in exchange for him. That doesn't mean every team that owns Puka Nacua has to trade him, but if you're in a situation where you've got a stacked value wins, you can't be holding on these top heavy guys. It's like somebody giving you $100 and saying turn it into something else and turn it into $1,000, and you come back and you're like, hey, here's my $100 that you gave me. I didn't turn it into anything. Meanwhile, the two other people who were down tiering and actually making moves to make that $100 increase, they came back with like $200 and $300, and maybe they came back with $1,000. Like that's how you build value. Is you take that money, you take those players that are super valuable, and you reinvest them elsewhere to get guys that are going to sum up to more than what you initially started with.
And so, how do we apply this? Really, it comes down to those four scenarios we talked about earlier. If you have a high value share and a high production share, look, you've got a team, go win your league and shore up your flex spots. Get guys that are going to score you points and give you an actual advantage there. If you have a high value share and a low production share, go get productive assets. It's time. You have the money to go on vacation. Go on vacation. Do it. Go get productive assets and win your league. You have the most money in your league. If you have a low value share and a high production share, you either need to reload this year or you need to be prepared to reload next year. And
you either have one more year max.
You better have a very good idea of where your actual value is, because if you don't, you could end up in a hard rebuild and hate your life in Dynasty. And if you are in a hard rebuild, stack value wins. Go make as many trades as possible. Turn that $100 into $200 or $300, like Nathan said. And the only way to do that is by making moves, because you aren't going to get $100 to go up by just holding $100. You have to put it somewhere. You have to put it somewhere. You have to turn it into more money somehow. That's the goal of Dynasty in a hard rebuild. And so again, all four of those different production share and value share combinations yield different strategies in Dynasty. But if you play with value at the center of your Dynasty brain, you will, the proof is in the pudding, be successful, win your Dynasty leagues, and win money, because say it with me, money's cool. It is. I play Dynasty to win people's money. I love doing it. So drop a like on this video if you also like winning money. Make sure you subscribe. Look, if you are watching, drop a like and comment at the end of the video if you're watching this, because these are by far our least viewed videos, these strategy videos. Because you know why? Because they are for the absolute freaking sickos, like the sickest of the sickos. But there's a lot. Honestly, like Nathan and I, we'll never stop making these videos.
Put our blood, sweat, and tears into this theory too. Like,
this is our life.
The production and value share was the best thing we did for Blueprints.
It was amazing. And again, these are videos that we would watch ourselves. We would, as a content creator,
we use the production and value share for our own teams.
As a content creator, we want to create content that we would enjoy watching. This is our freaking stuff, man. So if you're a sicko like us, say hey in the comments. We love you guys. We appreciate you. And again, go check how much money is in your bank account. Come join the community. We've got a full personalized plan for you. We've got all the tools for you. We can help you. We do this. We're not going to tell you who we like and who we dislike as players. We're going to give you objective analytics that we've spent a lot of time, our team has spent a lot of time building. So go check it out. Come join the community and come use code DOMAIN when you sign up. We appreciate you guys. We love you. We'll see you soon.